Hey guys, it's Grauph. It's May 25th, 2022, day 145 of burpees. I'm at 24,700 year to date. Um, Today I'm going for 300, going for that halfway point. Today is a little bit different. Um, not doing a shout out today. I have a request for everyone. Just first, I'm gonna leave a link down below, like a piece that really inspires me, that really talks to me. Just like 12-minute clip. If you guys, whatever you comment, leave a link to something that like you go to. If you go to something regularly, like just it talks to you personally and moves you along. Um, this is one I've got a story that three of my sons will need to hear eventually one day, but one's too young to understand right now. Um, just about how like life around you, it's kind of an illusion. Your stability, all of it can snap in just an instant. The whole Thanos snap seems like science fiction shit, but it can happen. I've talked about this with a couple of people, and I've like considered titles for if I ever had to give this thing a name. Like it would be the best worst day of the eighth grade. It's like what the hell could happen in the eighth grade? That's so drastic. um, but just this will probably give you a little more backstory, and I'm gonna try and sum up a little bit of my childhood, how I had a really weird, it was a cool childhood, but it was way out of the normal range of childhoods. Um, my dad and mom split super early, like before I could remember, so that was nothing, but I spent a lot of time, like I would say my dad raised me. Kindergarten, we were on 10 acres, the middle of the Ocala National Forest, like the middle of nowhere, just woods all around, your closest neighbors, like quarter-mile down the road, and then it's just dirt roads and middle of nowhere. And for whatever reason, I don't know, it was the 80s landline. Parents didn't really talk to their kids anyway, but uh, first grade I went up to Maine to live with my mom and stepdad, who was military. So it was a Navy base up there. Uh, One day I remember coming home in first grade. It's a regular day, and all our shit's packed up in a moving truck. And like, yeah, that's military life. Um, I spent 4.5 years at Fort Bragg. That was a 24-hour deployment post. Eventually, you'll understand it, but shit, man, if you're a parent and you're about to do a big move, talk to your kids about it. um, that was my first probably abrupt. Like things can change. So first grade rolls around, whatever. I end up back at my dad's for the second grade. Still back at this tiny little school, middle of nowhere. Um, Living a really cool, it's kind of like this. No humans around, me and animals and my dog. Just fields with blackberries, trees to climb on. I think it was like fourth or fifth grade. However, it came up. I just told my dad, like, I want a brother. This, I need a brother. And I was old enough to understand even the math. Like, if he met a woman and they had a kid, the kid would be way younger than me and all that. Um, so, logically, my request still didn't even make sense to me. He ends up meeting a woman through his work, and he was a forest ranger, so he worked in the forest as well. It was nothing but trees, and I knew about how to raise plants from the ground up, transplant all that shit. I was like 5 years old working in this nursery. um, so yeah, he meets this woman, and she's got two kids. Her son's about my age. Her daughter, he's 1 year younger than me. Her daughter's a little older. Um, Now, for future, they would have probably today like classified her as borderline. She put off a really good, seemingly normal, a little neurotic at times, like some OCD traits. Like the house was spotless by us all of the time, like dusting. Every single day, one of us had to dust the house. um, prior to him, I was into dinosaurs and spaceships and, nerdy shit like that. I was a nerd kid, good at math. Um, this kid comes in, he's like, the army, let's go play soldiers and stuff. Hell yeah, we've got 10 acres. We're out there, we're digging actual full-size fighting positions. We're still climbing trees. My dad's taking us to like the army surplus shops. We've got on full camo. We're out there. We're not like playing army. Now we're actually basically doing the same shit we were doing in basic training, only when I was in basic training, it was easier because we went hard as kids. We had like several tree forts and like bases set up around our property. We would constantly wander onto other properties and set up fighting positions. Um, we had the basically late 80s, early 90s, perfect, what you'd want a boy childhood to be. Rode bikes through the middle of, long ass dirt roads. We'd go fishing, sneak off places we weren't supposed to be. There was like a gas station miles down the road. It was miles down the road, and we would steal all this change from around the house and get on our bikes and just go down this highway that our parents constantly told us not to go down. Um, and it was like if they were coming home from work, coming down this highway, there was no way you were not going to be seen. So we would occasionally see a car in the distance and just bail off into the woods, wait for it to pass. It's crazy shit. Uh, so as far as that, I mean, he was a stepbrother, but he was my brother. We were blood brothers. Uh, Stepsister, um, she was an indoor child. We were outdoor children. Uh, the boys were not allowed in the house pretty much till the parents were home, and she just sat in her room reading books and doing homework. She was a straight A, like probably had some traits passed down from her mother as well. She made a C one time in an art class and had like a mental breakdown in the house. It was some weird shit. I was, you know, my dad paid us for grades, so I made what I wanted to make in money in my grades. Um, so yeah, to this math competition, I was a huge nerd too. Seventh grade, we, because the school was so tiny, they also like I think they really picked out certain kids and like focused on some of us. There was like an after school math thing my dad convinced me to join. My grandfather taught me like a lot of higher math way earlier than I probably needed to know it, but he was just like that. So I'm training up and I go to this math competition in the seventh grade. This is a county-based math competition. It's a seventh, eighth graders. I don't even think there were sixth graders there, but it was pretty much like this middle school. Algebra is probably the highest end of it. I don't think they throw in trig or anything, but this is like middle schoolers doing high school math. Um, and I placed something weak, like I don't know, in the 15th or 16th or something out of all kids or whatever, and it's like, all right, so I decide I'm gonna take it seriously, and I'll come back in the eighth grade when I've got like a year up and I'm with the same age as like the competition. And time goes by, and me and my brother we bonded. We fight like hell. Like there was times when the parents weren't home, and we got into like baseball bat fights around the house type shit. Surprised we didn't kill one another. So let's see. If there's any other major points? We had both of us had secret girlfriends. Our parents said, they sat us down in like sixth and seventh grade. You boys aren't old enough to have a girlfriend yet when you turn like whatever age. But we both had our secret girlfriends. We both tried to give each other tips and advice and like hype each other. So yeah, the eighth grade math competition rolls around. Now my stepmother, leading up to this, she was never physically abusive. She would actually like put punishments, like if it was a physical punishment, put it off onto my father to do, which is still another like when I think back on some of her twisted shit. just a lot of comments, like underhanded comments and shit like that, that she would make all the time. Looking back as a kid, like this one was just psycho, and people didn't catch it. So yeah, the math competition. You'll understand my hatred for this one. I get there, and it's like the first half of this math competition is all on paper. It's like an actual just fucking hour or two long math test. Like super exciting way to spend a Saturday. And then the results come back, and then they take like it was like the top 20, and the top 20 students or whatever through the county that had placed then go in like a head to head. Like it's mostly a mental math because it would be one person up there, and you take like person number 20 and person number 19 against one another. They just give the math problem right there. You have a piece of scratch paper, or if you can just do it, the first person to give the correct response bumps up one. So I placed something like, I think it was like seventh or eighth. It wasn't terrible. It was top 10, but it wasn't up there. And I'm like waiting because this is my moment. This is my moment to take some back. So they put me up against eighth. And I just like wiped him out. Like this, there was some weird. I'm weirdly good at math. Was weirdly good at math. So I moved my way up. I bumped my way up into third place, and now I'm like hyped. My dad shows up sometime around this time. He had things to do that day. He told me, and I get it. You know, this is like town was a half hour from the house, so if we're making a trip into town, go like you have to do chores, things like that. Um, Nothing super out of the ordinary. And I'm hyped now. Like this is badass. I've worked, for a year now. I'm like third in the county in math. My dad's like, all right, I have to talk to you about something. So we're walking out to the car. Car's filled with all of my shit. Like it's a little Honda Civic hatchback, and I see all of my things are packed into the car. Um, Tells me I have to move down to my mother's that day in West Palm with my two half sisters down there, and they've had their life going, doing their own things or whatever. I didn't keep a lot of communication. Showed me the post-it note from my stepmother, who was going on about how I was a bad influence on her child. The kid, the reason I joined the army, probably the reason I went to go and kill bad guys. This kid, I was the bad influence, and the note was just get rid of him or I will. So he was absolutely protecting me where we were. He ended up getting a lawyer and kind of going off and hanging out different spot in town for a while just to stay away. Like she was that nursery we had, the plant nursery, she went and chopped the tops of like just killed hundreds of his plants for no reason. She just had a weird fucking mental break. um I did give my brother a call that day. Like just, we were both kind of in a state of shock. He actually helped my dad pack the things up when my dad told him what was going on. And the next day I woke up in a new town. And I mean it went from there. I didn't stay in West Palm for more than a month or two. We moved moved to South Florida. I made some good friends down there, but nobody had a fucking clue why I showed up in the circumstances I did. I think they just assumed I was there with the family. The whole family moved to the new town. Mother and stepfather. Um, yeah, talk about celebration. Going from third place in a competition you've been working for a year for to your entire life is now completely done and different. Um, oh good, it's thundering. My son truck starting up. I still got 300 burpees to go do. Yeah, I wanted my kids to hear that. And I'm sure I'll jump back to points when I talk about my brother, like stories. If I ever refer to him, that was like really good times. We did all of the boy stuff you need to do as boys. And as adults, while I was in the military, we kept a little bit of contact. When I got out in 2005, I got a call from my dad that sucks saying it out loud. Stage 4 skin cancer. And I talked to my brother like once more on the phone. To be fair, I'd already grieved. Yeah, I'm gonna go knock out my 300 burpees. Try to smoke this bowl. It's good and bad. It's all just a fucking journey. It gets you where you are. I wouldn't have 3 kids today if that didn't happen. Sometimes you just wonder how the fuck you're the one that ended up here. Yeah, I'm gonna leave a link to a clip, one of my favorite movie clips that really speaks to me, and I'll leave a link down to a video where I talked about some of the mortar attacks we took in Afghanistan. If you want to talk about just quantifying trauma, that's pretty much what I call it. If you take enough trauma, eventually it's just fucking normal. Then you can go and knock out 300 burpees. That's the trick, William Potter. Music. Then I got commercials. 25th done. 25,000 here to date. It's that halfway point. And whatever hand life dealt you, just fucking play it. Keep grinding, guys. Just keep fucking grinding.